Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. I'd like to wish all of you a very happy new year, and I think for those of us that hold currencies, this is going to be a very good new year. And because I think it is, I'm going to dispense with discussions of disclaimers and all of that with regard to the purchase of the dinar and these other currencies. I think we're well beyond all of that. And I think we're all going to be in the banks very shortly. I'm going to do just a little bit of a year in review. I want to start with Soudani's promise, the promise that the citizens would see a new exchange rate this year. Well, he didn't quite give us the exchange rate by the end of the year, but he did put in place everything necessary in order to pull the trigger. One of the reasons that this thing got postponed a little bit is because of the obstructionist behavior of Parliament. They're being dragged kicking and screaming to this new exchange rate, but Soudani has got him by the scruff of the neck, and he's not going to let them obstruct very much longer. He began the year with the end of the USD for the purchase of goods and services in country, and he's ending the year with the end of the auctions. So the only remaining thing to do is to reestablish a new exchange rate for the dinar. The auction window is being replaced now with the currency window, meaning that currencies will be able to be exchanged at their true value. No longer will there be auctions with the dinar at the program rate. In my opinion, this was all done months ago. It just has not been released to us. The reason I say that is there is no way, when you think about it, that Iraq could negotiate all of the international contracts to rebuild their infrastructure with their currency and a program rate. So the countries that were involved in these contracts to rebuild the infrastructure had to do so with an understanding that there would be a new rate with the dinar, or at the very least a parameter that they were working with. Then there's the issue of the currency swaps with other countries. As a practice, countries will swap currencies and hold them in reserve. Well, why would a country swap their currency with the Iraqi dinar if the Iraqi dinar would remain in a program rate? Well, the answer is they wouldn't be doing that. So this tells you that it was done. The people involved knew that it was going to be done, knew when it was going to be done, either knew a rate or had a parameter of rates. And as I said, the obstructionism of the parliament's hopefully going to be coming to an end, because Soudani threw down the gauntlet with Parliament and said that if the budget isn't passed by January 7th, and remember that budget would necessarily have to include a new exchange rate, that he would establish an operational budget and proceed without them. And again, even an operational budget would have to have a new rate. Then there's the establishment of the new banking system, which again requires a new rate, and the funding of the HCL. And the last thing I might mention anecdotally is the fact that this week the CBI of Iraq, along with the U.S. Treasury officials in Iraq, had a party, a celebration, which makes absolutely no sense if they're celebrating another year of the Iraqi dinar in a program rate, because Iraq has accomplished all of its goals to meet international standards and practices. So, in my opinion, I think we will see a rate this month. Hopefully, we will see a rate within the next week. So for those of us that have had currencies for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, this has been a very long slog. It's been frustrating at times because it was always 2 steps forward, 1 step back. There were individuals in Iraq who, for their own selfish reasons, liked the situation that has existed and lacking any conscience at all. They didn't care about the suffering of their own citizens, And I think Sudani's kicked them all to the curb. Again, the solution to all of their problems is very simply to have that new exchange rate. This is, of course, a very short call because there's not much to report. All of the news is good news at this point. I am going to touch a little bit on what's going on in this country because there's a lot that seems to be going in tandem, and I'll get into that in a moment. But very briefly, for those of you that have not as yet established your family asset protection trust, and I've received, I've probably got over 100 contacts between Christmas, the day after Christmas, and today. I'm doing everything I can to get the information out, but this is going to be your last chance to establish this trust before the currency reinstates, and you're going to want to get the currency out of title and into trust before that happens. So we're working as quickly as we can, but this is going to be your last hurrah, so I strongly suggest you proceed. By establishing the trust, and I'm going to state this very simply, you not only will successfully hide this newfound wealth from the general public, but you will protect it from any potential civil lawsuits. This can only be established through a package of such trusts. The trust provides privacy and anonymity. You will avoid IRS scrutiny because the operations occur within the trust, not you personally. You're going to be able not only to gift the use of assets by continuing to retain ownership of them within the trust, but you can even utilize our gift subtrust, meaning you can gift currencies to individuals pre-RV to avoid the federal gift tax and have control of the post-RV proceeds. And there are situations where you want to assist people, but you know for whatever reason they can't handle the management of a large sum of money. The trust will allow you to avoid the cost, delay, and exposure of probate and the federal estate tax. The federal estate tax can be as much as 65% of your estate, in excess of $10 million. But with this trust, again, not only will there be no probate, but you have successfully avoided and legally avoided the federal estate tax, meaning you're going to be able to transfer to heirs and family members 100 cents on a dollar. The trust also provides other asset protection benefits as well. If you transfer pre-RV currencies to the trust, let's say you had 10 million dinar that you purchased for $10,000. You transfer the currencies to the trust. They subsequently revalue for, say, $1. So you've got $10 million in trust. Can you be sued for $10 million? No. Why? Because when you transferred the currencies to the trust, they were only worth $10,000. It's very difficult to then go after the assets within the trust because it's been established as an asset protection trust. So you divest yourself of the currencies pre-RV, you cap any potential civil loss to the value at the time of the transfer, and the post-RV value of the currencies is protected because of the benefits established within the trust. Then, of course, there are the sub-trusts where you take each individual asset. It's called segregation of assets, and you place them in each separate trust. So if any asset, a rental property, a car, a boat, anything is involved in civil litigation, it would only be that asset that would be involved in the litigation, because under the law, the other assets are in separate sub-trusts, which are separate legal entities, not having anything to do with the litigation involved. So the trust is indispensable, particularly in a situation where you know an asset you possess is going to increase substantially in wealth. But I want to move on and talk about a couple of other things here. We had a recent election. Donald Trump was reelected. We try not to get political on these calls, although it's pretty hard to avoid in certain situations. But on January 20th, Donald Trump is going to be inaugurated. I'm not going to go through the litany of things the left has done to try to stop this guy. He's the Terminator. He just keeps coming. But I do expect that there will be a last-ditch attempt at the certification process to stop his inauguration. And it's the same nonsense, the same crap they've been doing. Not only is it not true, but it's the very things that the people on the left have been doing for decades. But in my view, the re-election of Donald Trump is the greatest single comeback in American history. And again, I don't want to get into the litany of things that were involved. Now, as you may recall, after the election of 2020, Donald Trump wanted to challenge the election and said that he had technically won. Well, as it turns out, that probably is the case. Why do I say that? Well, after the election of 2020, there was massive reform in all of the swing states. And as a result, in 2024, Donald Trump won all of the swing states. Now, that should lead any rational thinking person with an IQ above room temperature to consider the real possibility that once again, Donald Trump was right. There was some shenanigans in the swing states. They cleaned up some of these shenanigans, and then he ran the table and won all 7 swing states. So what can we look forward to after January 20th? I think Donald Trump is really going to hit the ground running. I think we're going to see more in the first day, in the first week, and in the first 100 days of his second term than we've seen in the history of the United States. The border will be closed. We will see a reduction in inflation and crime. We will see a massive increase in the production of oil, making the United States energy dominant. And we will see trillions of USD held by the Treasury, converted to U.S. dollars, used to substantially reduce the deficit and to rebuild the military. From our perspective, as denarians, what does that mean for us? Well, it means that not only will we see an economy, a genuinely reconfigured growth economy, but it will come at a time where we've just received this windfall. So we will not only be in a position to grow what we had before, but we will have this large sum of newfound wealth at the precise time that we're going to basically see an economic renaissance in this country. Donald Trump has repeatedly said that we are going to enter a new golden age. I've discussed this in the past. The United States did have a golden age between roughly 1880 and 1910. It was also referred to as the Gilded Age. It was the largest single period of wealth growth for the country nationally and for our citizens individually. And it was done before the creation of the Federal Reserve and before the establishment of the federal income tax. Our wealth came from economic growth, and the funding of the government came from 2 primary sources. One was tariffs, which the left abhors. It's interesting. Their argument against tariffs is it increases the price of foreign goods, but they have no problem substantially increasing the price of the corporate tax, which increases the price of every single thing you purchase, from milk to eggs to exotic cars. So we will see the substantial reduction in the federal income tax, which he's already started, to replace it with tariffs and government bonds. And I think that Donald Trump is going to make good on what he's doing. And the reason I think he's going to be able to do it is because I just don't see what else they can possibly throw at the man. He's only there for 4 years, so he can do what pretty much he wants to do. He doesn't have to worry about a re-election at all. And then who do we have in the wings? J.D. Vance. So at the same time as we're about to receive this windfall profit, the United States is going to be a much better environment for investing. And that's not only important for ourselves, but it's important for our children and our grandchildren. So we purchase the currencies. We transfer the currencies out of title to the trust to protect those currencies. Those currencies subsequently revalue within the trust. No one even knows you possess that wealth. It's virtually impossible to sue someone if they've established a very sophisticated trust package like this one. We will see the United States period of a second golden age. We will reap the benefits of that because of the wealth that we've accumulated. So I think 2025 is going to be a very good year for those of us that understand what's going on in this country politically and economically, and those of us, for whatever reason, found out about this possible windfall with the Iraqi dinar, made the decision to purchase the dinar, and then made a second decision to protect those currencies within the trust. So this is where we find ourselves today. The dinar could revalue tomorrow or the 7th or somewhere in the month of January. I personally think that around the 7th we might see a change in the exchange rate. That doesn't mean we should run to the bank with our hair on fire. Taxes would be due in April, but that we've got plenty of time to allow the currency to appreciate. If you go back to the days of Shabibi, he said that the true value of the dinar, based on Basel compliance, is probably about $16. He's probably not far off because there are already people saying that the dinar is going to be double-digit. I wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen. It may not stay at a double-digit rate, but it could rise to that. The Kuwaiti dinar almost went to a double-digit rate, and the wealth of Kuwait is dwarfed by the wealth of Iraq. So might be wise to exchange a little bit of currency initially in order to resolve any debt or financial issues you may have, but just hold on to a little for a few weeks, if not a month or so, to watch the dinar move. The dinar could also increase by something called velocity. It's kind of a synthetic thing. It's not really based on the underlying fundamentals, but more based on people seeing it going up in value and simply purchasing the currency with the hope they can exchange it for a higher rate. So that helps with the increase in value as well. But those of us that have purchased dinar and some of the other currencies as well, like the dong, situation with the dong is kind of interesting too. One of the arguments against the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar was, look at the dong, it's been in a program rate forever. Well, Vietnam has been in the umbrella of a captive umbrella of China for all of these decades, but recently Vietnam has been pushing out and making deals with other nations. And I think once that first domino falls, the Iraqi dinar, I think we might see the Vietnamese dong and start to increase in value right away. So it's a double whammy for us because a lot of people that have dinar, and when I look at our client base, I'm hard-pressed to think of anyone that has dinar and has no dong. I'm sure they're out there, but most of the individuals, I'm sure, have some dong as well. So we'll have a second wave. I don't think it'll be as large as the dinar, but it should be another very good day at the office for those of us that have the dong as well. So 2025 is shaping up to be our year. We've waited for it patiently. We've earned it. And now I think we have a government that's going to make sure that we can retain that wealth, grow that wealth for ourselves and our family. Again, for those of you that have not as yet established your trust, we've put additional people on board. We're moving as quickly as we can to get these trusts completed. So I strongly suggest you contact us, get our initial package, review it, and if it sounds good, you need to move, and I mean move quickly, because I think we're at the precipice here, and I think a lot's going to happen in a matter of weeks, if not days. So thanks again for listening to the call. We're not going to have a Q&A today. I simply have too many people I have to get back to, and as I said, our time frame here is very, very short. There's one other thing I wanted to mention, and I can't remember it now. Darn it. I'll remember it as soon as I hang up. One of the things I wanted to mention was that we have a document called the Exchange Protocol, and it walks through how you do the exchange process if you have our trust or have a trust. And I'm going to contact our attorneys and see if I can get that on our website today. But it's a document I think you should have. It gives you the do's and don'ts, what you say and what you don't say, what you take to the bank and what you don't take to the bank. There are certain things that the bank may try to get from you because they're going to want to manage all of your money. But some of the things are legitimate, and some of the things that they're asking for are, frankly, none of their damn business. And you have to be prepared when you go in there to say no to certain things. Say no to a rate that you know is below what's available. Say no to their insistence that their managers handle your funds. Say no to a bank that wants you to use their trust. And say no to one of their sneaky little moves where they say substantial amounts like this need to be held for 21 days. That's not banking law. Do not accept any of that. Be prepared to look them in the eye and very calmly say, that's not acceptable to me, so I'll just take my business elsewhere. I promise you, you won't make it to your car. They're going to try to take control because that's what banks do. But you got to go full Jed Clampett with these people and let them know it's your money, your rules, or hit the road. That's basically what I wanted to say for today. Again, I want to wish you all a very happy new year. If you want to contact us for our initial trust package, you can contact us by email or phone. Our email address is trusts, with an S, unlimited, LLC, @gmail.com. That's trusts, with an S, unlimited, LLC, @gmail.com. And our phone service is 307-274-4122. That's 307-274-4122. Our next call is scheduled for next week, which ironically is that the 7th of January, I think. We're close to it. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email to inform you of an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. We're all in a really, really good place. And God willing, this will all be over. We'll be in the bank soon. We'll be moving on with our new lives, providing for ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren. Take care. Have a great week, and God bless. Bye-bye now.